Hi everybody, this is going to be the last set of notes for Chapter 7. Today we're talking about reflections, rotations, and translations. These are three different words to just describe how an object or shape is being moved across a graph, but also you can think about it in terms of how something moves in real life. We're going to start by talking about translation. Translation is kind of the easiest one to understand. Translation is just something going from one position, staying the way that it is, and just being dragged somewhere else. If you look at this triangle as ABC, C is at the top, A is on the left, B is on the right, and if I move it here, C is still at the top, A is on the left, B is on the right. So translation is just moving a shape, but it stays the same position. Number 1 and number 2 are both examples of translations. Y is on top, Z is on the bottom. If I move it down here, Y is on top, Z is on the bottom. X is on the right, X is on the right. The black shape is your original position. The blue shape is where it went to. All this shape did was just got dragged the way that it was down here. It didn't flip around, it didn't spin, it didn't flip over. This is a translation. It's just the shape moved. Number 2 is the same thing. R is on the top, it moves, R is on the top. S is on the right, S is on the right. Q is on the left, Q is on the left. All this did was just got moved down. It didn't spin, it didn't rotate or anything, so this is also a translation. That's probably the easiest one to understand. Reflection is the next one that's pretty simple. A reflection is, if you imagine, it's just the object is like looking in the mirror. So 3, 4, and 5 are all examples of reflection. If you notice, U is on the right, now U is on the left. T is on the top, T is still on the top, S is on the left, now S is on the right. You can think about a reflection as it literally looking in the mirror at itself. If I put my hands like this, and you imagine that I have a y-axis right here, here are my thumbs on the left, here are my thumbs on the right, then my first finger, my middle finger, my middle finger. I could do the same thing going like this, where my thumbs are now on the outside. This is the same thing. It's just a mirror image. If this were looking in the mirror, this is what it would look like on the side. So the way that you know that it isn't a translation is now what's on the left is on the right, and what's on the right is now on the left. So because these flipped around, this is a reflection. Reflections can also overlap each other, which is an example in number 4. This shape has gone from being like this to flipping over and now looking like this. Sorry, let me do that down here. So it went from this to looking like this. So up here, R is on the left, S is on the right, and then it rearranges. Now S is on the left, R is on the right. Q is still over here, but now it's over here, and same thing with T. If you notice, Q and T have now switched places as well. This would also be a reflection. Reflections, if they overlap, will always look symmetrical. So this kind of looks like butterfly wings. Reflections will always, if they overlap, look something like that. Same thing here. These are identical shapes. It's just what side of the y-axis is different. 5's the same thing, even though it looks like it could be a translation. The way that you know is V's on the bottom, now V's on the top. W's on the top, now W's on the bottom. This is also a reflection. If this were, for example, like a pool of water, and this was this triangle looking down in the water at itself, it would see whatever is on the bottom is now going to be whatever's closest to the water here is going to be closest to the water when they look. That's why when you look in water, you see yourself. Your reflection isn't you upside down. Number 6 is the last one. It's called a rotation. Rotation is when a shape kind of starts off like this, and then as it moves, it kind of does this. It's kind of like it's spinning. It's not only spinning, but it's also moving where it's at. So if you take a look here, X starts at up here at up 2. Now it moves to down 2. Y is at over 5 up 3. Now it's over 5 down 3. This shape moved this direction. It's almost like it spun. If I took this triangle and kind of overlapped it here, it looks like what happened is if this was X, they took this triangle and they spun it and did that with it. So this would be a rotation. Rotation is kind of like a spin. The shape is staying like this, and then it's moving around and being spun around a certain number of times. These are also examples of rotations. The number one thing you have to remember about all of these is you just want to pay attention to the letters. K is here, now K is here, L is here, L is now here, J is here, J is here. Let me see if I can grab a different triangle for this one. Something a little bit smaller. I've got this one. So if you imagine this is the way that our triangle originally was, what's happened is it's now gone just like this, and it's spun a little bit. 8's the same thing. If you look, X is at the top, but now X is on the side. W's on the left, now W's on the bottom. Y's on the bottom, now Y's on the top. So because these are changing position, it's rotating and spinning as it moves to a different location. The number one thing you have to keep in mind with these is just pay attention to the letters. You're starting with the original black shape and you're moving to the new blue shape. Think about how this shape has rotated or reflected or translated to move to where it's at. That's all you have to pay attention to.